4, 3, 2, 1, and welcome to this week's episode of Photo4me TV. It's episode 10. Our guest today is Phil Crean. He's a photographer based in Tenerife, and he activated his Photo4me account over 8 years ago, but recently came back to the site and has sold 2 pictures in just the last 3 weeks. I'm looking forward to hearing more from him. Anyway, this week I'd like to introduce you to Mark, who looks after the member success, Dan, who runs content and social, Mike runs day-to-day, me, myself, John, I do the tech and marketing. And if you want to stick around to the end of the show, you'll find out what's happening in terms of development and new exciting updates to the marketplace. So without further ado, Mark, what's been going on in member success?
Well, we got 33 people who have sold for the first time.
33.
So, go away, make a cup of tea, talk amongst yourselves while I read out this list.
Stretch.
Have a stretch. Yeah, call that chiropractor now. This is the way to do that. So, 33 of you, here we are. We got Madeline Whittle, Sarah Clark, Elliot Griffiths, Ian Stone, my Facebook friend Jeff Smith, Colin Richards, Alessandro Delator, Joe Boyland, John Paper, Robert Fenner, Art G, Sean Kerr, Vicente Sola Memanor. Again, apologies for pronunciations on some of these. Sri Mensonor, Lee Chapman, Richard Murgatroyd, Darren Frodsham, Madeline Bujak, Stephen Giroic, Simon Stapley, Sean Wright, Stephen Perry, Tracy Smith, Peter Hatter, Peter Bolton, Robert Fenner, Adrian Rowley, Jonathan Noyen, John Martinet, Daz Key, Dennis Platts, Paul Smith, and Brian Hall. There you go. That's your list, isn't it?
That's only going to get worse for you as this goes on.
I don't know whether to applaud Mark or the people that are sold. Like, a little bit can't be.
Yeah. So then we got this week's big top sellers. You all know is at number one. So we won't bother reading his name. But following up behind him, we got Kevin Britland, Gary Pearson, Andrew Ray, Ray Pritchard, and Jerry Greer. And then this week's editor's choice, we've got David Tyra, Oxen Images, Richard Sayer, Phil Thornton, Kevin Ainsley, Stephen Cowell, and Jay Biggerdike. So there we go. Double mention there. So then on to my presentation for this week.
Yes.
There we go. Right. So sad to say that my good list is only 2 images this week, because sort of downloads or uploads are a little bit down on previous weeks. So get those uploads coming, because there's that £500 to be won for December uploads. But here we've got on my good list, we've got Katie Royal's image of Hayfield in Derbyshire. And again, all the keywords were perfect on that, and it's a classic bit of English countryside there. And then this we got Rakiva Lake during a cloudy day. It's a lovely image. Mindaugas, I believe that is. I'm not going to, again, apologies for pronunciations, but no, it's a really nice image, and it's got all the right keywords in there, so it will be found. So fantastic. And onto my naughty list. Sorry about this, but Kevin Plunkett. This is a great image of St Paul's Cathedral. However, it's in the title, it's in the description, but it's the one thing missing from the keywords. You've put Cathedrals of London and statue and cathedrals, London and city, but the name needs to be into the keywords there. That's a key one. So yeah, Kevin, if you can fix that, that'd be amazing. Jocelyn, this is a lovely image. This is a holiday I still want to do out on the canals there, but this you've got a great title here: Reflections of a Bridge in Braunston Water on a Narrow Boat. But Braunston on the Water is missing from your keywords. So again,
what will happen is it might be found in search, but there is more weighting towards the description and the keywords. So if there weren't many pictures with Braunston in the keyword, then it would be high in search. But what you might find is somebody else was a bit sharper with their keywords, they would go above you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a slight change there, if you could, Jocelyn. And again, on pronunciations, I'm not even going to attempt this.
Presentation. You need to make it easier on yourself.
Yeah, I know.
You've got control of this, Mark.
Yeah, it's not like the Stars list.
So I think it's something like Saljalanfoss, but I couldn't give that for definite because I know what those letters look like in that semblance, but I couldn't say that pronounced it correctly. Anyway, this Icelandic waterfall is beautiful by Mervyn Tyndall, but the name is missing from the keywords. So again, people will be searching for that. So yeah, if you could just make that slight change, that would be amazing. Right. Funny names aside, let's move on to my top tips this week. And as I build the other way, the last week, I will be talking a little bit more about legal issues. Now, this is a massive tin of worms, and the guys are going to sort of cut in here and help me out with this because it is quite difficult. What we have done though, and what we will keep up to date is on the FAQs on our site. There is loads of information about copyright and about where you can and can't shoot, and a lot of the things I'm going to cover in this next bit. There is details on that, and we do keep that up to date. So be checking that regularly. But the first thing is model release, and this is if someone is recognisable in a photograph, then really they need to have signed for their consent for the image to be used. And we've made that easy for you because what we've done is there is a model release form on the website. So if you go to the little seedlings there on the new navigation and come down to model release, that opens up a PDF which you can print. And I highly recommend that you print that off and carry that in your camera bag, because if there is a great image that you want to take and it has got someone in that is recognisable in the shot, then you will need that model release. Otherwise, it's to protect you guys, because that person could come after you. And
this is where the tin of words come in, Mark, because from when I was talking to the company solicitor years ago, they said if you're in a public space and it's just sort of a snap and you haven't asked them to pose, or they're not like the feature of the image, you should be okay. But if you go into a private property, or you've asked them in a studio setting to take a picture, that's when you need that model release. So it's kind of in public, it should be fine. Again, cover your bases. We're not solicitors ourselves. This is just guidance that we've been given. So always cover yourselves, because we are a marketplace.
Yeah, and it might be different in different countries as well.
Exactly.
This is UK law, but it could be. Is it the same in Canada? Is it the same in the US? I don't know.
I think underlying all of this is you guys need to know before you take the pictures, or before you upload the pictures, that you're covered for wherever you're coming from.
I mean, generally speaking, you can take the photograph because it's for your personal use. But the moment it becomes a commercial outlet, that's when you need to think about it.
Yeah. Exactly that. And so there is a button when you upload whether you can click that says I have the copyright to this image, and you need to have checked all of those things before you click that button, because you will be responsible. And that is why some images do get thrown out in the approvals process, to check on the copyright. Okay. And here's another area.
I see what you've done there.
I see what I've done there. Yeah, I don't want to be droning on about it, but I guess we do need to cover it because it is coming up time and time again. So, certainly in the UK, if you're using a drone, you need to have applied to the CAA for a license. Now, John, I understand that you've applied for said license.
No, right. So,
yes, sir.
I have got a drone operator's license.
Yes.
Slightly different. So that's the stage one. So you have to be competent, and that basically proves that you're competent to fly your drone. You also have to put your operator's number on it. There's quite a few things you have to go through. It doesn't actually take that long to get that qualification, and then you pay online to have that qualification. So I am a qualified drone operator. It does not mean to say that I can use my drone for commercial use or photographs for commercial use in the UK.
Right.
So anybody that flies a drone should really have do this drone operator license. So you've got a responsibility for your fellow human beings because they are dangerous.
Yes.
So get that done. The next thing you need to do, as you say, is go to the CAA in the UK, and you can find a place where you can go and take your exam to become a fully qualified licensed photographer with your drone in the UK. But every country's got different rules. Some places you can use your drone and photograph what you like and upload it. So again, it's down to you to do that due diligence yourself. And when you tick that button, when you upload the picture, you've got to remember you're saying you've got copyright and you're covered. So,
and also before membership jumps onto us now and say, well, there's rules that are changing. Yes, we know there are rules changing in the new year regarding drone photography, but as a company, we're going to look at that in 2021 and then make a new announcement as to, what our stance is on it.
Yep. So as I mentioned, and I'll just put up there. If you go to that webpage on our FAQs, there is a page there about drone photography, and we will update that as soon as we know what the rules are. So we'll keep you abreast of that. So there's that. And then obviously this one, get off my land. So
not a great
so things, this has come up time and time again. It's things like English Heritage National Trust, the Royal Parks, Crown Lands, and that kind of thing. They are real no-go areas for that, because they own the copyright to those images if you take them.
Because you paid to be on their property to take the photograph, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even pay to be on their land. You're just on their land.
You're on their land.
On their land. Yeah. Exactly that.
Okay.
So again, it's up to you guys to make sure that you've checked whether you can actually, you can certainly take these as personal pictures on these properties, but you cannot then put them on and say that you own the copyright for them to be sold on Photo4me. So, please do your due diligence, as John says, and check.
Again, there is so many nuances to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we, again, on the FAQs, there is, we have got a section called legal help with the address there. Check back, because we do keep those up to date wherever we encounter something.
And just just one last thing on this. The last one, we have just had quite a big conversation with the National Rail in the UK. And we are taking down photographs that we have found that have been photographed on National Rail property. So that's going to be added to the list. Again, it's unfortunate because we know people like taking the photographs, but be careful where you're standing to take the photograph in the first place. Is really, I think, the main thing.
Exactly that. Yeah. So I think, Mike, you're going to elaborate on that in a moment anyway, aren't you? In your slot, so I'll let you cover that. So that's it. I'm sure that there are more. That probably raises more questions than answers, but again, it's something that I know I've been talking about covering, and that I've touched on it a bit there.
Mark, I'm the controversial one here. Don't take my limelight.
I just want to steal your crown, really. So that's me done. I'm now going to hand over to Dan.
Lovely.
Dan.
On a slightly more uplifting note, guys.
Just me drag things down
out the way. We are at Photo4me on all of our social media. So if you're not following us on Instagram, Twitter, or like us on Facebook, do pop over and give us a follow or like. There's only 2 days left of the Advent 2020 promo. And just to clarify, that means we are still taking canvas print orders and regular print orders and acrylic print orders. Sorry, so we've got canvas, acrylic, and standard prints. We're one of the few companies that are still taking orders with UK Christmas delivery. The cutoff for that is midnight Friday. So any photographers looking to do some social media posts, midnight Friday is the cutoff. And we are one of the very few companies still taking orders. So still get out there, still use that Advent 2020 code. There's still 2 days left. Someone asked about the hashtag MyPhoto4me campaign in the Facebook group. this is the problem with announcing something on a podcast that hasn't quite come into fruition yet. But just to confirm, we are going to kick that off from Boxing Day. We decided it was best to hold off until anyone who's bought a Christmas gift has given that and someone's opened it before we ask everyone to start sending photos of it. So we're going to kick that off from Boxing Day. We're working on the T's and C's for that. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a great way to interact with your customers. The next big thing, which I'm not going to take John's limelight, but look out for collections promo. The day is coming. The infamous collections is coming soon. Keep an eye out for any updates on that. We're going to start rolling out updates about when to expect that to be released for you guys to use and the types of features and benefits of collections. So it's going to be really exciting. That's yet to come. All right, guys, I think it's time for our member guest this week. This week we have Phil Crean. He's been a Photo4me member for 8 years. He actually reactivated his account in the past 3 weeks and has already sold 2 images. He moved to London in the 1980s to learn photography and darkroom work. It ended up with him studying photojournalism for a year and moving on to many successful freelance jobs. He's got a diverse portfolio, but he's passionate about landscapes and nature. He's moved to Tenerife in the mid-90s and he's actually still there, so he's coming at us live from Tenerife. Let's give Phil a warm welcome. Here he is. Hey Phil, how's it going?
Hello there, how are you? Nice to see you all.
We can hear you loud and clear, and I believe you're coming in from Tenerife, aren't you?
That's right, yeah. I'm sitting here, although it's a bit cooler here today, so I've got 2 layers on.
Well, I think you've got better internet connection than we have, so that's saying something.
Well, actually, yeah, we're very lucky here. They introduced fibre right across the island about a year or so ago, and it's amazing.
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant. So,
good.
Phil, firstly, thanks so much for reaching out to us and getting involved. I think before we kick off, why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about your background, how you got into photography, how you first started trying to sell your work, and how you've eventually ended up here with us on this call.
Okay, well, I first got into photography because I wanted to create something artistic, pictures basically, and I'm a useless painter, drawer, etc. And I found that I saw pictures, photographs, and I thought a camera was the way to take me down this road. So that's what I did. And that developed into a career then, because I went on to learn more about black and white printing, darkroom work. I had a tutor who was really encouraging and persuaded me that I should pursue it further, which I did. And I went into a course on photojournalism. And from there, I worked in photography in London for quite a few years, doing mainly portrait work. But landscape is always something that, I've always been passionate about. I love nature. I love going out into nature. And, I always try to capture what I see around me when I'm out hiking and so on. And obviously that side of things was very different from the commercial work I was doing and the commissioned work. So that kind of just was there on the side for a long time, and I never did anything with it. And really it was down to, I suppose, well, I did sell a few prints here and there. Obviously people saw prints or what have you, and asked me to do copies for them. But the internet was what opened it up, as it did for a lot of people, I suppose, because then print-on-demand sites came along, and there was opportunities to try and sell pictures that you wouldn't otherwise have a market for.
Yeah, definitely. So just to pull it back, you moved into London in the 1980s to study photography, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, my initial thing to London wasn't particularly to study photography. It just kind of like while I was there, there were opportunities which I didn't have in Dublin to learn more, and that kind of like steered me into it. It wasn't my intention when I first went there, but that's what happened. So many things in life work like that, I think.
Exactly,
no, of course. I'm curious how with the freelance work starting to pick up in London and turn into a career, what made you make the jump to go to Tenerife?
Well, I suppose it comes back to my love of nature and landscape and being out and about. I'm not really a city person. And initially, like, London was exciting and it was new and met loads of people, made loads of friends. College was good and work was interesting. I mean, you can't deny all that. But eventually I just did not settle with city life. So I was looking for an escape, and to cut a long story short, I ended up coming to Tenerife, and I'm still here. So
I suppose if your passion's nature and landscapes, being in the thick of London ain't cutting it, is it?
It isn't really, no, because it's not an easy place to escape from, you know.
No, once you're there. John will tell you all about that.
Yeah.
But the landscape in Tenerife is quite something anyway, isn't it? I mean, for photography, I mean, it's that sort of lunar landscape up the mountain and stuff. I think, if I remember,
it's
right.
Amazing. It is, undoubtedly. It's so exciting and so different to anything that you see in Northern Europe, because it's just so barren and so dry, and the colours and the rocks are so amazing, and the shapes, and yeah, it's just very, very different to kind of like a rolling, pretty landscape that you might see in parts of, I don't know, Yorkshire, Derbyshire, other parts of Northern Europe. It's very, very different and very alien and striking. Yeah.
I remember going there as a kid, and I wanted to go back for a long time because that landscape, certainly up the mountain there, was.
You've got to come, Mark. I'll show you some great places.
Yeah, I know there's some good bars.
That too. Yeah.
Mark's always about the bars for some reason.
Yeah, well, you know, I can understand that. It's
No, I also noticed from your portfolio you're well travelled as well. Your portfolio's really diverse. How did the travelling aspect, again, I'm bringing it back to being stuck in London, how did this travelling aspect of your life come into fruition?
I guess it's something that is possibly a genetic thing with being Irish. I mean, we travel all over the world, don't we? And I always had a curiosity about, you know, other parts of the world. I always dreamed about traveling here, there, everywhere. And when I got the opportunities, that's what I did. I was always, you know, going abroad. Even before I got really interested in photography, in my late teens, I made a couple of trips into Europe, into France, into Spain. And in more recent years, I've traveled further afield to Cuba, to Peru in South America, trips around Europe as well, Italy, Spain, you know, and there are more places in the world that I want to see, a lot more.
Yeah.
I was just looking at your portfolio. You've certainly got an eye for getting up high, haven't you?
It's kind of, when you're living on the side of a volcano, it's kind of like, it's hard not to get up high.
Living on the side of a volcano.
Yeah, well, that's what Tenerife is, isn't it? You know, it's just a great big volcano, you know. So yeah, I mean, we can go from sea level to 2,000 meters above in less than an hour. You know, it's phenomenal.
There's actually one photograph I was like thinking, is that a drone photograph? It's something we're going to talk about a bit later in the show. But it was quite interesting. It's a photograph of Los Gigantes.
Los Gigantes, yeah, those enormous cliffs. Yeah.
So you're up on the top of a cliff looking down.
Looking across, and down over the marina.
Yeah.
I'm actually at the top of the village, if you like. The village is built into the side of the cliff, and it goes up at an incredibly steep thing. Not something to be staggering up from the bars with late at night.
So you must do a lot of walking then to get that high.
Yeah. I do a lot of walking. Yeah.
How's your preparation fall into your photography? Do you have to scout out any of these locations before you set out on your hike, or?
Well, I've been walking in the island for many years, and I know a lot of paths and a lot of places. So I'm always noting things when I go around. If I see something I think that's interesting, I want to come back here when light's different time of day, different season, whatever. And I find myself going back again and again and again to the same places, because things do change and you get different images. And sometimes it's more satisfying. Sometimes you go there and you spend, an hour and you come away and you think, well, that was a waste of an hour. But it wasn't really, because, it's not just about getting the picture. It's about enjoying where you are and appreciating where you are and, just being there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice.
I'm curious, to my understanding, just to talk a bit about your portfolio on Photo4me, you actually you started experimenting with POD sites about 8 years ago, and you sort of put it to the back of your mind and moved on. But I believe you reactivated your account within the past 3 weeks and have actually sold 2 images.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, about 13 years ago, I got involved a little bit in stock photography because I thought that was a way to, particularly the travel work I was doing, to get it out there. And that worked very well. And I think when I went into the POD thing, I kind of thought it would work in a similar kind of way. But it doesn't. It's quite different in terms of the imagery that's required and the way. I think the early POD sites as well they were set up by people who didn't come from a kind of a commercial photographic background, whereas stock sites existed long before the internet, working with transparencies and prints and things like that, and pre-digital. So there's a different kind of a way of doing things, and I think that POD sites and particularly Photo4me have evolved over the last kind of 8, 10, 12 years, however long it is, and they've changed and improved enormously. And I think it's a lot easier now to upload stuff. It's a lot easier to keyword it. The search engines seem to work better. And yeah, I mean, basically, through another photographer I know who also is contributing now to Photo4me, who I know through some forums and stock sites. And he mentioned something I can't remember exactly what about it. That kind of made me think, oh, I must look again at that and see what's happening. So I went back in and realized things had changed. So I started to upload things. And within a day, I'd sold a picture that actually had been up there from 8 years ago. Then a week or so later, another more recent picture, which I put up, sold a picture from the west of Ireland this year, actually, that I shot this year when I was in Ireland.
Oh,
that's kind of encouraging, and I'm hoping
it's a good sign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will be continuing to upload stuff, and I'm still learning how things work in the POD system and what is right to put up there and what's not right to put up there, and it is very different in its in its way of working to the stock sites. So I still have a lot to learn about that, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, definitely.
So did you did a diploma in photojournalism?
That's correct. Yeah.
Love to know more about that.
Well, it was basically, how do I describe it? It was researching and shooting stories as if you were working for the press. We were very much allowed to work on our own. We had to generate our own work a lot in college at the time. We had guidance. We had a number of teachers, tutors, professors, whatever you want to call them, who would guide us in certain areas. We had some lectures on the history of photography, a little bit about, the kind of history of press and how that came about and how that's developed. And we were pointed towards great photographers to look at as inspiration. And basically, that took you kind of into an area where it was very much gearing towards working for magazines, working for the press, for newspapers, and so on and so forth. I didn't quite follow that line strictly. I kind of veered off a bit. I went more into kind of commercial photography, although I did do a lot of work for magazines, mainly portrait work, photographing people as they were being interviewed, or, something about artists, about their life, or also did a lot of work with musicians for creating imagery for them to use for their PR and press work and things like that.
That's something I did when I was in my early 20s. I followed a lot of musicians around. They were trying to get off the ground, and I would take photographs for their album covers and things like that.
Yeah, it's great fun.
It's really good fun going out to live gigs and taking photographs behind the scenes, but all that stuff I can't use it. Well, one of my friends has gone on to be a huge music producer, so yeah,
it's
back in
funny
the glory
though,
days.
Because I mean that's the reason I got into graphic design, was because I wanted to design album covers. You know, I was a big follower of Storm Thorgerson, the guy who did all the Pink Floyd album covers. You know?
Yeah, Pink Floyd, and the other one that I really like was the Hypnosis ones.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, incredible work. And he was he wasn't a photographer, he was a designer, but he'd go out and take the photographs. You know, he'd actually get, you know, beds on beaches, you know, rather than doing it, you know, as a post-production thing, which is, you know, just something I've always loved. I've loved that whole idea.
Yeah, no,
it's just coming a little bit off pace there. We had, didn't you take some photographs of a desk in the water somewhere, Mark?
Yes. Yeah, I did a photo shoot for a thing called Reverse the Tide, and I actually took a desk, a laptop, and a desk chair down to the coast and stuck it in the sea, because I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to, I didn't want to fake it. I could easily do it in Photoshop, you know, with business stock imagery, but it just wouldn't work. There is actually a picture knocking around somewhere of me in a wetsuit standing surfing on the desk as well. Probably best left tucked away.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that now. But yeah, I think you know, if you've come from that background, I think that's, you know, and certainly, you know, those kind of people, that if you're working to that kind of thing, I think it's a good stance to start.
It is. It makes you think hard about what you're doing and how you're doing things, and it pre-digital, you know, you really had to work hard, because it all had to be done in camera, and I mean, you know, if you wanted to do any retouching, that was incredibly expensive to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and nowadays we just have Photoshop on our computers and we just do it.
Yeah.
So,
it's all too easy now, isn't it? But I prefer the real. If you keep it real.
Keep it real. Yeah.
So how's your like more artistic side? For example, taking the photos of the record label, album covers and stuff. How is it juggling that aspect of your photography versus something like generating a stock library, or is your stock work much more creative than I'm probably presuming? How's the balance between the two?
I think, you know, in all kind of genres, the ideas have to come and you have to be creative. I mean, you know, you have to produce something that is going to grab people's attention. People are going to look at it and say, oh yeah, that's interesting, I want to know more about it. Whatever it is, you know, whether it be a stock picture, or whether it be a picture for somebody to illustrate an article about them, or whether it be something that you're trying to do from, you know, to show how you feel about the landscape, for example. You know, it's like, what is it about that mountain that you like, or what is it about that tree in that field, or, you know, and somehow trying to put that into an image that will stop people and make them look at it. You know, so the creativity has to be there, you know, in all genres, I think. And, you know, I don't know, some people specialize, they've got a niche area, and they think that, okay, this is something that they found that they can really work at. And that's fantastic. I mean, I think I'm a bit of an eclectic photographer, in that I have a lot of different interests, and I've got a lot of different things that I work at. And sometimes I suppose they do clash a bit, in the sense that if I'm in a frame of mind, let's say I'm doing some event photography and I'm working hard at that, and then the next day I'm out in the landscape, it's like, you know, it's like having to turn a switch in my mind and say, okay, now I'm thinking in a different way. I'm moving slower. I'm considering things differently. Whereas at an event, you're reacting quickly to things that are happening, to people moving about or whatever, or trying to see opportunities of pictures, you know. So, yeah, it's different states of mind, I suppose, for different things.
Yeah.
I hope that didn't come out too confusing.
No, not at all. No, I suppose it's just interesting. Talking to photographers who work full time and juggle their creative hobby along with that, because like you said, it's turning that switch. It's, for example, when Mark does a graphic design document for one company and then does it for another the day after, it's turning that creative switch and serving a different purpose for whatever you're working on.
That's it, very much so. Yeah.
But
I think one thing that Photo4me has been lacking is the ability to sort of build like collections or folders, which is something that's coming out next week. And because I've been looking through your portfolio, and you've got some really beautiful time lapse photography around sea. So if they were all like grouped together and you could present that in a way, I think people will engage with the site in new ways, and they can see collections of pictures. And
I think that's a great idea, because the idea of as you say, presenting something as a group like that, I think is quite good. And it, I mean, I appreciate the way that Photo4me really kind of pushes the whole kind of location element of things and people's attachment to locations. And that was something that I didn't quite follow until I saw so much of it there, on Photo4me. And thought, that's a really, really strong thing, and that emotional attachment to places that people have. But I think there's also emotional attachments to types of landscapes, if you like. And for instance, like, the kind of the slow moving sea where you get that silky water and you create a tranquil image, which doesn't matter where it is in a lot of ways. It's like, it's a beautiful picture of the sea moving and the land, the sky.
So how do you create those really sort of milky looking shots?
Well, the big trick is to get your shutter speed right down as low as you can. Sometimes, I have done some long exposures up to like 8-12 minutes.
Oh wow!
And but you need really low light, or you need an awful lot of filters. I use neutral density filters.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have two filters that I use: a 6-stop and a 3-stop. So sometimes I'll use them combined to give me an extra 9 stops, which can, if you're shooting in early morning or late evening when your shutter speeds are low anyway, you can really stretch it out. And that's basically how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, that does look good. I hope they don't create a digital version of that, because it's still one of the last things that requires, a high level of thought and skill, doesn't it?
It does. You've got to really. When I first got into it, I thought, "Oh, great! Now I can do this," and blah 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 blah. And the first few results I got from it were atrocious. I was just like, "What is this?" It just doesn't look like anything I had hoped it would be. There's a learning curve, like there is with any of these things, and I'm still learning. This is one of the beauties for me about photography, is that I always felt from the day I first got interested in it that it would never bore me. I would always be looking for something new, learning something new about it, finding a new way of looking at things, or finding a new way to do things. And in the last couple of years, some of this long exposure photography is what I've been exploring.
The trouble is with it's also the sort of hobby that will bleed money out of your back pocket.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I was like, oh, dare I buy a drone? Oh, I bought a drone. And then you realise that you can't take photographs and use them commercially. So I've got all these amazing photographs I can't use. And then I thought, oh, maybe get some ND filters for my drone, because then you could do this kind of shot with a drone, which is, if you can get the drone to stand still for long enough, it's pretty amazing. But again, it's just a whole new progression, isn't it?
It is, and it's always changing, and people are always pushing the boundaries, and that's what's so exciting about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. No, it is. It's really good.
Before we wrap up, Phil, what's next for you? What's on the horizon for you, project-wise or personal-wise? What are you working on with your photography?
Well, that's a tricky one, mainly because the situation we're in the world at the moment with the pandemic, etc. And
that would be good.
I know this vaccine is coming in and that's going to change things, but I really do want to continue traveling. I didn't get nearly what I wanted to do done this year due to lockdown situations. I'm hoping maybe not 2021, but 2022 to get a trip into Vietnam, Cambodia. That's an area I really like to go to. I want to continue with landscape and exploring Tenerife. There's still parts of Tenerife that I want to go back to again, and there's some parts of it that I haven't really, explored as in depth as I would like to. So that's definitely part of the plan. And constantly to try and evolve, to try and push myself to find new ways of doing things. I find I'm getting more and more abstract in some ways as well with my landscapes, and and the long exposure thing is a little bit abstract in that sense too, because it's not something that people see. When they look at the sea, they see waves, but I make those waves go flat using long exposures, and it's playing with things like that and picking out details of things that I'd like to play with, putting textures, colors, different things like that together. So yeah, there's a lot to explore.
I suppose I think you sort of answered my question, but is there any advice you'd like to give for any photographer who's currently in this situation, like we all are, stuck in their homes or anything like that? Before you go.
Yeah, I mean, you can find a lot close to home if you look, and try and look at things differently. I mean, if you just have a little garden, go out in the garden, look at the insects, look at the leaves, look at the trees, look at whatever's there. If you don't have that, what's around your home that you can play with? I mean, can you set up little still lives, make little stories with things, or
No, thanks very much, Phil.
There's never ending things. I think it's just about curiosity. Never lose your curiosity.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Take
Never lose that.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure, and can't thank you enough for reaching out. We've all really enjoyed chatting to you and looking through your portfolio. It's really amazing.
And thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll catch you in the Facebook group soon.
Yes, indeed. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Take care, Phil. Oh, nice one, Phil. Thanks so much for joining us. If you are interested in coming onto the podcast, drop a comment on Facebook or YouTube and reach out to us. We're always looking for new, fresh guests, and it's quite hard to go through 4,000 plus members to find out who'd be up for it. So put yourself forward, and we look forward to chatting to you.
Yeah.
So, Mike, tell us about the products and what's selling.
Well, before we get into that, I just want to say things are really busy over here. As you know, I wasn't here last week, so my apologies to anybody that was looking out for the Michael Wood fan club.
All one of you.
There was
all two of you, yeah. Mom and my sister. But yeah, no, it's been really busy on this side. If you ask me what the weather was like the last week, I haven't actually looked out the window, even though I have a big window in front of me. It's been crazy. So without further ado, and I digress. The top 5 searches of this week. In number 1 is the Lancaster bomber. And number 2 is Loch Morlich. And number 3 is Largs. 4 is horse. So I guess equestrian. And the 5th one is Lurgan. Did I say that right, guys? Lurgan.
Yeah. I'm not sure where that is, but.
Yeah. So those are our top 5 searches of this week. So a lot of emotive around that, the Lancaster bomber, a lot of stuff from World War II remembrance selling. So planes, Spitfires, etc. And just a lot of beautiful scenery. So now going into the products, as we know, we have passed the cutoff dates, as Dan was saying, for the frame prints and the frame mounted prints. And 2 days' time is the canvas prints, acrylics, and standard photographic. What I've been saying to people that want to purchase photographic prints or frame prints, I say you can still buy the photograph. You just have to source your own frame locally. If you want to do that for Christmas. So I do try and push the standard photographic prints still if they want to get it framed. Then as for commissions, every year we do it. So hopefully this isn't a surprise to any older members, but the new members, just around this time of the year, because all our sales are for Christmas, or the large majority of it, we do hold off on the photographer's commission. So I paid the photographers on Wednesday afternoon, and now there's going to be a freeze on the payments until January 8th, just because of the 30-day money back guarantee. And then everything's going to go back to normal on the 28-day payment runs. And then finally, the third one is recently we've been in touch with the National Rail has been in touch with us because of images that were on the website. And they have said the following, this is, and I quote, Members of the public and rail enthusiasts are permitted to take photographs of our properties as long as they do so safely, and they are only allowed to retain them for personal use. At no point can the images ever be sold or be used commercially. We do not make agreements with image banks either, as images can only be used for a single purpose. If you have any images where they are taken within stations or on platforms, we kindly ask you to please remove them from your portfolio with immediate effect. We'll be going, Photo4me, we will be going through the site to remove images which we find, and if you see any images which fall foul, please flag them or send a picture ID to customer care and we'll remove them also. So we want to be on the good side of the National Rail and don't want any further problems or any problems with them. And just remember, guys, that when you upload an image, you take a box agreeing and acknowledging that you retain all the copyright and IP and legal challenges. So if you want to check that out, the link is photo4me.com/contract. Dan will put it at the bottom of the page for you. And we are simply just a marketing platform for your photography. So we, you guys are responsible for what you put up on the website. John, do you want to add anything on that, or is that?
No, that's all good. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is it over to me?
So John, yeah, over to you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so it's a bit of an exciting couple of weeks, really, all round. I mean, it's been a staggering 4 weeks in terms of sales. And of course, it's going to slow down a little bit now just because it's the time of year. But we've got 5 things to talk about that are on the horizon. So in January 2021, we will be launching a storefront on amazon.co.uk. And what that means is that we will be selling Photo4me products through our Amazon store as well. That's a big thing. Now, we won't be listing the entire collection of 540,000 pictures because it just won't work if they won't accept our pictures. So we are going to have some criteria around what pictures we do put on our store. And because of the logistics mainly of production, the production of the actual frame print or the canvas print, we're going to restrict the product line a little bit to begin with. So we will probably only be putting pictures on there that have sold in the past or are likely to sell. And we will be having a very limited product range on the Amazon storefront until we can figure out the logistics and see how popular it is. So it's actually quite exciting. We will have a very, very fast turnaround on our Amazon store. So customers will be able to buy the products very, very quickly. Not prime, but pretty almost prime. So that's number one. Now, the other thing is we're not just going to take it for granted that you want your products to be sold on Amazon. There will be a place, part of your settings, where you can agree that your pictures will be also up for sale through Amazon, built and manufactured by us and supplied by us. So that will be an additional part. This will all go out in a separate email, and you will be invited into this if you so wish. It is not automatic entry. Okay. So that's quite exciting. Okay. Number 2, we have improved the members navigation. You will see along the top, we've added some new drop downs. So there's a little seedlings box. That will develop over time. That's actually going to be a marketing suite. So it's an area where you will be able to download additional assets and help promote your portfolio in all sorts of new ways in the new year. So seedlings really is, it's all about growth. That's why that icon's like that. And the one next to it, the little light bulb, that's where you can see our roadmap. Again, you suggest, you report, and you vote on improvements to the platform, and we will take note.
Merry Christmas to everybody. Christmas present.
That actually leads into my next part, which is the upvote. We've had a lot of upvotes and a lot of suggestions from members, and the first one actually got released this week. So the weekly popular searches, most popular searches, are now in the members site for people to look at on their own accord. So you go into the seedlings, into the marketing suite, and then you click popular searches. Now, at the moment, it's quite static, but we are going to be improving that with a lot more data, a lot more live data. So it's just stage one. So that will be improving over time. Collections. We will be celebrating Collections Day on the 23rd of December. Celebrating Collections Day is going to be the day that we release collections. Merry Christmas. Yeah. It has taken us a lot longer to build than I think even I had thought. We have come up against a lot of technical challenges. We're trying to make it as innovative and as easy to use as possible. We have completely overhauled the whole way that portfolios management works, full stop. So it's not just about collections manager, it's a lot more than that. And as Dan said earlier, there's going to be a promo video just showing you some of the features that are coming out in this. But I think you're going to get a lot of benefit out of it. And so 23rd of December. Number five, don't forget, there's still a chance to win £500. If you upload over 20 approved pictures in the month of December, you can win or stand a chance to win £500. So there's still about 18 days left, something like that. There's certainly another 2 weeks left. So between Christmas and New Year, if you've been given a new toy, like a new camera for Christmas, that could be a good opportunity to go out there and do something with that. So there's going to be plenty going on. So that's the innovative part of it. But what are we doing in marketing? So cut-off is Friday night, midnight, for canvases and acrylics. And in line with that, our Advent offer finishes on Friday night.
That's it. Friday night at midnight going into Saturday, not Thursday into Saturday.
Yeah.
Not Thursday going into Friday, sorry.
Yeah, midnight, Friday night, Saturday morning, that 10% discount will finish. It will expire. But watch out for the Boxing Day sales event. So we are going to be doing a promotion on Boxing Day that will run until New Year's Eve.
Yep.
So watch out for that. Again, that's going to be another limited offering. Do we tell them how much it's going to be, Mark?
Oh, I don't know. Should we keep our powder dry on that? Well, let's wait till next week. We know, but let's
leave it surprises. They have to know every word next week.
It's going to be a significant saving anyway.
Yeah. No, we'll keep our powder dry.
So, and of course, number 4, the other thing to remember is my Photo4me hashtag will be starting on the 26th till the end of January. And again, there'll be a lot more information coming out about that over the next coming days. So there's quite a lot of information going to be coming out of the site, and that's part of the reason why we've got that new navigation, so you can find what we're doing easier, because some of the feedback we're getting from members is that not everyone's got the time to watch the podcast. So we need to have things written down as well, so you can find that a little bit better than sitting down and watching us for an hour, which I'm sure you all love doing, right?
I mean, who wouldn't, right? Mike's fan club, especially,
Yeah, exactly. All two of them.
Well, thanks, lucky, right?
Hey, thanks very much, Phil Crean, for coming on the show. So it was really interesting to hear more about that photojournalism, and we've got to do something about the jumpers, surely.
Yeah.
I can't get into Primark, mate.
Dan, you must try harder.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Anyway, that's enough for us. Have a lovely evening. See you later.